Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Rare Birds podcast. I'm your host, Peter Fenton. You can find me online at bypeterfenton.com and on social media at peterfent. Just start typing my name and then stop. I'm an author and a screenwriter. Basically, I bring things to life. And that's what creative people do. We get an idea, and we take the time, energy, and love to bring it to life. It takes a rare bird to really lean into your niche interests and create something that is serious business to you, no matter the medium, and your audience will find you. Always. And speaking of niche interests, no matter the medium, I think it's now time I told you, all you listeners out there, I really like video games. Always have. Nothing comes close as a medium of immersive storytelling as when you hold the controller in your hand and you get to navigate the bright or gritty world around you. I definitely preferred the brighter worlds. I can't really do those violent video games the media is always complaining about. Yeah, the Fentons were a Nintendo family. I grew up with a Nintendo 64, then a GameCube, now I own a Switch. There's something about video games that can really hit my nostalgia buttons, and I think one of those series of video games that I have some of the most poignant multiplayer memories tied to is Mario Party. Today is the Mario Party episode of the Rare Birds podcast. I had such a great conversation with our guest today. He's a YouTuber who goes by ZoomZike, and he's, first of all, just an all-around great dude. And you can just tell the heart he has for what he does, creating such in-depth, well-thought-out content all about such a niche series as Mario Party, breaking down the game mechanics and sharing winning strategies. And for those of us who do not make YouTube documentaries about video games for a living, one thing you'll take away from today's episode is the recurring theme in our conversation about how to work smarter and not harder. I think you're all gonna really like ZoomZike. I will note that Zyke and I have very similar voices, so as one of my friends pointed out, someone's probably going to hear this podcast and think I was just talking to myself for an hour about Mario Party, and I've decided I'm okay with that. So without further ado, let's get this party started.
At the end of the day, only you know how hard something was to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have to get myself in the mindset of, is doing this thing for 10 hours, right? Are they going to realize it? Like, are they even going to notice that it's very cool, you know? Or is this other thing that I can do within seconds going to look cooler to them? So, like, it can be really easy for me to fool myself into thinking that I'm doing more work just by putting more hours in, right?
Yeah.
But it's a little harder for me to put myself in the mindset of what do the other people, right? And me too, enjoy, right? Actually seeing on screen. And just because it takes a quick amount of time doesn't mean it's not worth it. So.
Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode of the Rare Birds podcast, which is the podcast where we have conversations with thoughtful go-getters who are making the world a better place in many different creative fields. And I have the pleasure of talking with each one about their passions, their projects, and what fuels them through it all. Once again, I am your host, Peter Fenton. Today's interview, I've been excited for since the day I came up with the idea for the Rare Birds podcast, and I hadn't even asked our guest yet if he wanted to do it. This is actually the first interview I'm conducting with a complete stranger, so we're all about adventure today. It's going to be a party, a Mario Party, maybe. Our guest today, this guy's a YouTuber with, at the time of this recording, 52,000 subscribers. He insists that a score of 5 is average, not 7, and he is best known by his gamer tag ZoomZike, so that's what I'm going to call him throughout the interview today. I discovered ZoomZike's content about a year and a half ago, and I very vividly remember it was the first time I'd gotten internet set up in this apartment, and I had to test my TV's connection, so I booted up YouTube and just clicked on the first suggested video, and then I just got completely sucked into this nearly 3-hour sort of a documentary called Identifying Luck Mario Party 3. I subscribed to the channel, and now I guess the rest is history, and we're going to be friends now. Let me tell you a bit more about ZoomZike. ZoomZike started on YouTube as early as 2011, where he spent his free time recording himself playing games using a webcam. When 2018 came around, he decided it was time for a reboot and started working towards making analytical content, diving deep into the games he enjoys. His most popular videos are part of his series titled Identifying Luck, which is a kind of long-form, comprehensive documentary series where he breaks down the infamously luck-based, that's in air quotes, Mario Party series of video games to its core, game by game, which reveals information that turns this series known for its chance events into something that can be a little more predicted and controlled. ZoomZike, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me.
It is so great to finally be having a conversation with you. Yeah, you're just fascinating. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well yourself.
Yeah, you're out in California, right?
Oh yeah, I'm in Southern California and it's like over 100 degrees over here. It's torture, but we get through it.
Yeah, it is starting to feel like fall in the greater Philly area. So
Oh gosh, no,
it's
I don't know what fall feels like. That it's my favorite season, like
yeah,
and I don't even get to experience more than a few days of it.
yeah, that's what Maple Treeway is for, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So before we really dive into the meat of our conversation and talking about your creative process and all, I know that we're going to have some non-gamers listening in on our
Mm,
conversation today. Like my mom listens to this podcast. Let's talk a little bit about Mario Party on a
yeah.
conceptual level, because I think that, I mean, most of your work is, derived from
Mhm.
Mario Party. So I think it would help if our listeners knew a little bit more about like Mario Party on a broad strokes level, how it got its reputation.
Oh
Talk
yeah.
about
Oh
Mario
yeah.
Party.
I think the I think where we should start with like explaining what Mario Party is just explain what a board game is. So
Okay.
like everyone's played a board game, right? Like you play a board game, you roll your die, and you get mad because something happened to you. You got unlucky due to this or that. Now, Nintendo thought it would be a wonderful idea, and it was to make the Mario series into this board game series where they decided to have all these wacky characters kind of walk around on a board and you control them and do all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The way Mario Party kind of differs from a board game is that, well, of course, you're playing it, as a video game, right? And
Sure.
in between the turns, after everyone's taken their turns, you play something called a mini game, and whoever wins, you get some coins, and that is your currency in the board game, which allows you to purchase items to help you and allows you to have, the money to buy what is the win condition basically, which is the
Yeah.
stars, right? And whoever has the most stars by the end wins, and that's basically the gist of it. And
Yeah. That's
the
Mario Party.
yeah, that's pretty much Mario Party, and its reputation over the years, right? At least before I started making my videos and I started to get people to change their minds a bit, is
Sure.
that Mario Party is this very luck-based thing. Whoever wins at the end, yeah, they might have earned it like a little bit, but they mainly got lucky. That's kind of, at least when I was growing up, that was what people were talking about. And whenever someone plays, some people take it seriously, some people don't, and they just see it as this whole big chance thing. So I decided I thought I would kind of change the perception on that, and the rest is history.
Yeah. 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 When I was in school at Wheaton, which is this like, Christian college, we would joke that Mario Party was like Calvinism in the sense that like the
Mm.
game decides who's going to win and then it just makes it so.
Oh yeah, and in some cases it does. Like they're like by all means, not everything that I have ever talked about, because it's a series. There's like multiple Mario
Mhm.
Party games, and they do vary in what is luck based, and because some things genuinely are luck based. Some
Yeah.
things you can't control, right?
No.
Like sometimes the computer literally will roll a die and like have this random number generator and decide between 1 through 100, and you can't really control that, but there's like a million things which can be controlled, and that's what I kind of like diving into.
Yeah. And so that is a perfect segue into my
Mm.
first official question of our interview. So tell me, what is the signature project that you've brought to life and how did you get started making it happen?
Oh man. Okay. So like I've done quite a few different things, because like I do like analytical content. Sometimes I'll like look into levels and try to figure out why the developers made levels the way that they do, or how they teach players. That's kind of what I've been doing a little bit more recently, because like
Yeah.
these identifying luck videos I release like every half a year or so, because they take a really long time to kind of dive into.
Uh-huh.
But like obviously I'm most well known for the identifying luck series, and it is the thing I am most proud of. The way
Mhm.
I got started on it was, well, me and my friends played Mario Party a lot, and I ended up just getting really frustrated that I kept losing. That it basically
Yeah.
started from there. It started from Salt, where I just kept losing over and over again. And I'm like, dude, is there any way for me to figure out how to game the system? Like, am I really so helpless in this? Like when I roll a dice block, does it have to be one? You know, is there any way I can make it be a higher number? Is there any way that, like, when a star appears, for example, so when someone purchases a star, the win condition, another one appears in a random location, you know, as far as we knew, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out when I did some digging that it actually appears in set locations and you can predict them, you know, if you keep track of that, right? So with this salt in my veins, trying to figure out how to beat my friends at this game, I decided it first started as me just trying to win, you know, me just trying to like beat luck, because I'm a kind of person where I don't really like to think that fate is kind of against me. I like to think that things can be altered. So especially with something like a video game that I've grown up with, and one that I've grown attached to because my friends and I have a lot of memories with it, I decided to like dive into that. And after kind of exploring a little bit, this was during the time I was making other videos before this. I'm like, you know what? Like I'm finding a lot here. Like there's a lot of stuff here that I don't really see talked about much. And I ended up joining a Discord server, right, where there's like groups of people who were also invested into Mario Party, and they were kind of like me, where they took it like a little bit more seriously, and they had some info for me. And I started gathering this info. Some people were making tables. I started putting them into graphics, and I'm like, I can make a series out of this. You know, this would be really interesting. I think it would be like an awesome thing for people to just, you know, watch as like a Mario Party like connoisseur, or like people who like it, and even people who don't like Mario Party kind of get ingrained in the idea that something that feels very luck based can actually be controlled.
Yeah, I mean that's hell of a motivation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's an intro each game, and I think the thing that makes your series interesting and not just the same thing over and over again, because I think that a lot of people, when they look at the Mario Party entries, especially when they got to like the GameCube, it was very samey from game to game. But really, I mean, as I've watched your identifying luck videos for the first time, I'm like, these are all different animals.
Oh yeah,
completely different animals.
Oh yeah. Like people can just look at them and, like, granted, because like you look at them and the graphics look very samey. Like the N64, like one console had 3 Mario Party tiles on it, and the GameCube had 4 Mario Party tiles on it. And you know, they use the same models, they reuse assets, right? So they can make these games quicker, which makes sense. You know, you want to save on development time. But the actual core mechanics that they were like embedding into these games were actually like way different from one another. Where there are people who really love Mario Party that would like hate like the first one and like love the second one or love the third one. And there are like the way that one would use items, you know, some items in some games can be placed on the boards themselves, whereas some games make it so you can only use it on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or like the item shop, you know, for example, like you can, like the item shop, as I won't say I discovered, but as I learned from other people, because like a lot of the testing I did do myself, but I did get a lot of help from people, right? And I asked them certain questions. And I think that's what I was like mainly really good at, asking very specific questions. And they're like, I didn't really think about that. So then they look in the code for that and like, wow, okay, well, I wish I would have checked that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was like my main skill, asking the right questions to kind of figure out like, oh, what is the cool thing here? But like for the item shop, for example, it's like, you know, people are looking and it's like, oh, so apparently the items that you're shown, right, because you're given a random, you know, list of items that you're allowed to purchase from, apparently it's completely set. It's a set variable, and it absolutely depends on your placing and what turn number it is, and it's 100% predictable during a game. And it's just crazy, dude. It's a lot of stuff.
I can verify. Right before we did our interview tonight, I played my first match of Mario Party 3 in a very long time, and I had your item table up on my iPad, and I just had it paused. I was like, okay, what am I going to be able to buy today?
Yeah.
It's so interesting how you have compiled all of this information and you have put them together in these very comprehensive videos. And like, you're not exaggerating when you say, like, I've not obviously made those videos, but as a creative, I know how much time goes into a 3-minute video, let alone 3 hours.
Oh yeah. Like It's also when you got to consider that because like when I write the scripts for like my 20-minute videos when I'm like doing like level design, that doesn't take as long because I'm going through the level and I'm kind of just seeing it through like a developer's mindset. Okay, so there's a weak enemy here and there's a power up right before him. The developer probably wants me to grab the power up and use it to beat the enemy. Simple stuff like that. But when writing the script for something like this, it's like you have to verify the facts. And like I have made mistakes in the series and I feel like I might want to like re-release like a video or two or just make like a collection of them with like the corrections all embedded. But I really want to fact check these things. So I have to play through it over and over again to like verify it. Someone will check the code for me. And even though like someone could check the code for me, and that's fine for like statistical stuff, right? That's fine for like, oh, there is literally a 5% die that the game is rolling in the code. That stuff I can have verified by the code. I can't verify strategies exactly, right? That's the kind of thing I need to like, because like, for example, if I'm playing against a bunch of CPUs, like trying to figure out what the best strategy is, like all my friends aren't on standby the entire time. I can't, round them up and say, hey, let's play a board game for like 5 hours and like you help me figure out what strategies to, I can't do that. And even if I could do that, it's like, who's to say that the strategies I use against them will only just work on them, right? Or even worse, CPUs, right? CPUs play way differently than real players. So a lot of the times I kind of left here like, well, how in the world am I supposed to figure out what the best strategies are? And I do two things. The first is I go to the NetPlay server, right? And I kind of ask around, see what they think because, they're top tier Mario Party players, they're very good at the game, right?
Serious business, Zoom.
Oh yeah, serious business. And the second thing is I look up tons and tons of gameplay of other people playing the game who are like more casual, right? Just seeing what the regular person does, if they run around, and then I formulate strategies against those people, right?
Because those are the people you're actually going to play against.
For the most part, not as much recently because as of now, if I were to go into the Mario Party NetPlay server, like literally all of them have seen the videos and stuff, and they're all doing the things that I used to do to my friends now, or like to CPUs, and I'm like, well, the cat's out of the bag. The meta evolves, Yeah, and like,
you feel like you've created a monster.
Well, almost in a sense, and like part of me feels a little bit bad because like Mario Party is very much portrayed as like a for fun thing anyone can win, and so for me to put this much time into saying actually no, I could see a few people. I haven't really received comments like these before, but I could see a few people going like, oh well, this kind of just takes the fun out of it, or like I would never want to play Mario Party against this guy. When in reality, when I play Mario Party against people who are like clearly just trying to have fun, I'm not gonna like count everything. I'm not gonna like try and remember the percentages. I'm gonna try to have a good time.
Well, yeah, it's like these videos are so comprehensive and so specific. Like I can't imagine it. All of that data is just sitting in your head that you can just access at a moment's notice.
Oh yeah. Like,
is it?
No. Like, no, you're correct. Like I have all this information, but there are some people who memorized my videos better than I have, right? And I'm the one that made it. So like I'm playing against people who know the exact like item table that I've created, right? And again, like I mean, like I like kind of formatted it and stuff, like got help from a close friend. So like there are people who know this stuff, and like taking a strategy that I had and then like bumping it up and making it like a lot better. And I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. Like I didn't know that you can move your character in such a way that they will never be hit by this object, So that's just how the metagame evolves. I can't really help that,
Right.
Like in fighting games, like certain matchups, people learn things and things get better, like identifying luck. It's going to be a little bit outdated as like more and more people like enjoy playing Mario Party and enjoy learning how to play this game better.
Is the online community really growing?
I think so. I mean, the NetPlay Discord server, like because I always link them in my video description, right? So like anyone that's like, wow, this was really cool. I kind of want to play Mario Party now. There's a place right there for people to go into and play a bunch of others. But no, it's very well formatted. There's always people in VC playing each other. Like, they have like roles and stuff for people to get notified if another person wants to play one of the games. It's a lot of fun. So I would definitely say it's growing.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you landed on, because like I know that you're just doing the Identifying Luck series for the first 7 installments, the main installments.
Yes.
I mean, you did that joke video for Mario
Yeah,
Party. But have you landed on which one is your favorite iteration in the series?
My favorite iteration in the series, because it really depends on what exactly we're talking about. Because like, I guess
enjoyable, most
enjoyable to play
after like, all of this work and all of this thought. Which one is the most fun still to you?
The most fun one for me is 3. That's the one that I definitely enjoy the most, and it's fluctuated a bit because sometimes I'll think that it's like one of them is like really interesting, and then I'll learn something new about it and be like, oh, okay, I didn't think that could be a thing. Like one of the Mario parties might have like the star spaces might repeat over and over again, and that might make it extremely easy for you to like take advantage of it, and it might be like, I'm not really for that. Like sometimes I'll just learn new things, and it may make me enjoy the game more or may make me enjoy the game less. But if I had to say, it would be Mario Party 3 because it added, like, I would say the most core mechanics to the series that kind of gave it, like, put it where it is today, right? Yeah. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, 3 is my game. That's just, I think that there are some elements of some of the other ones that I think are better, but the whole package of 3 is like, this is it. Like, I feel like it's the best item system. It's the best. I love Daisy and Waluigi. Fun boards, the item system is really key.
Oh, pretty much.
The reverse mushroom.
The reverse mushroom. Yeah, that thing. Because the reverse mushroom is devastating. Like the ability to go backwards in a board game, like the ability to like say, wait a minute, that space I just passed, right, that I want to land on, let me try going backwards for it again, or like, and that same item being at a very low cost, and that same item being able to negate certain game mechanics that could harm you. It really is kind of disgusting. So
it's a lot. I can see why they patched it out of the game from 4 onward, but it was it had a fun ride.
It did, and it's like, it's not like every iteration is going to be perfect, like I wouldn't say that any of the ones that I've played are perfect. Every Mario Party that I've played has like a board or two that I just think are like, they're okay, and has a set of mini games, right? Because like every Mario Party has like over 70 mini games, where either it's free for all, everyone's playing each other, 2v2, 1v3, and some of them are great and some of them are like garbage. You gotta sift through all that.
Do you think the series suffered from releasing so many titles so quickly?
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Suffered from releasing so many titles so quickly.
Because like it was, I mean, in that window of 2002 to 2005 or whatever, we got 4 new installments in the series. I mean, that was a Christmas gift each year, was whatever the Mario Party was. Do you think that, because like what I see, and like when I look at the mini games and the boards, I'm like, I don't think 7 is inherently a worse game than 6, or 6 is inherently worse than 5. But what I find when I've done a lot of creative projects quickly, they all just kind of start blending together.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel a little bit about especially the GameCube titles of Mario Party. Do you think that there's anything to that?
I do agree, because like before I started doing this, a lot of like the mini games and boards, for example, were kind of interchangeable to me, and like the Mario Party tiles being released so quickly after another might kind of give an indication to some that, oh hey, this series just kind of pumps out stuff and doesn't really care about quality. Like, and some of them aren't as good as others, but like Mario Party DS, for example, had a bit of an aesthetic to it where the DS is like this small handheld system. And what they decided to do,
the kids, right?
Well, yeah, exactly, right. So like what they decided to do is like shrink all the characters and have the mini games be literal mini games, where like almost every mini game was designed for like small people, like an ant, you know, like they would be like on hang gliders, or they would be like running away from a vacuum or something like that. Like all the mini games were like formed around being really tiny, because you know it's Mario Party on this small screen, right? And I'm like, that gives it a lot more distinction. That like what you mentioned, 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're just kind of like Mario Party 4 is about it being your birthday. 5 is about like dreams, and that's cool and all.
I mean, but I love a good Paper Mario reference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, and then that's really cute. And I like that. Yeah. But like they could have done like a little bit more. Like 7 was about like a vacation. And like I understand that. Like they do have like little bits of themes to them, but they didn't really like emphasize those themes as well as like DS did by making everyone literally, even the boards were like you play on like Donkey Kong, who is stone in as a board, right? Like Donkey Kong at his regular size is turned to stone in one of the boards, and you literally play on him. Like you're just walking around on his body, or like the boards that he's holding up. And it's like that's hilarious, you know? So
that's great. I think 3 and 2 did that theming very well with the whole toy box aesthetic.
Yes.
All the boards in 3 look like a toy box, and all the mini games in 3 look like a toy box. Like, and 2 with the costumes on every board. I don't know why that never returned. I thought that was one of the best ideas they had.
Oh yeah, the costume. No, the costume thing was adorable. I don't know why they didn't bring it back either. Maybe they felt like making all the, because like there was only like 6 characters in 2, so it's like, and there was like 6 boards, right? So that counts like 36 costumes they had to make. And the moment you add another character, like now that's another like 7 that you have to make depending on board count. Like imagine if everyone had a costume for every board in Mario Party 7, which has like 16 characters, I believe, right? Around there. Like that'd be over 100 costumes, you know? So I can kind of understand why they decided to like pull back on that a little bit. It's nice that we got it, you know. I wish we could have had at least one other game with that, but I
really want to see Waluigi in a cowboy hat.
Well, yeah, you know, like or just mix and match costumes, you know. They don't have to you know, something like that.
We are starting to get that in some of the newer sports games on the Switch.
Yeah. No, that's true. Like in golf, right? The newest golf one. I haven't played it myself yet, but yeah, they are putting that stuff on. Everyone, wait, what'd you say?
He's got like a fedora.
Yeah, he's got a fedora and all that.
Like, wow, they're really leaning into this Waluigi neckbeard thing.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's tipping the cap saying "Milady." It's wonderful.
Oh gosh,
like. I do think it's interesting you brought up the toy box thing, because, and this is what I think is cool about like almost games in a way in restrictions, is that I'm pretty sure they went with the toy box aesthetic because the N64, I don't know if they were confident in it being okay. Basically, what I'm trying to say is in Mario Party 3, there's a lot of PNGs used as backgrounds, right? So like a lot of the backgrounds are used as just kind of flat PNGs or flat images because they don't want everything to slow down or anything like that, right? So by making it a toy box aesthetic, it provides a wonderful reason for why everything looks the way it does, right? If they didn't do the toy box aesthetic and they had all these flat images, which they did in the previous tiles, it didn't look terrible. But like at least now when you look at it, it's like, oh, it's a toy box. Of course everything's gonna look that way.
Oh, they meant to do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. It was very intelligent, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like some when CGI was still going, right? Because like Toy Story, you know, they hit out of the park with that. But like other CGI movies, right? I think one of the earliest one had to do with robots, right? And because because CGI wasn't the best so far, they're like, okay, so what kind of movie can we make where the bad CGI that we're doing, or like the not advanced CGI we're doing, doesn't really stand out? How about robots? They don't really move fluidly. And then no one noticed, you know, because they're robots, you know. So that's kind of what I compare it to.
Yeah. Do you find that when you're creating a project, you run into those sorts of limitations and finding a creative solution about it?
Ooh. Oh, that's an interesting question, because like there are some times where I'll try to find something luck based and I'm like, okay, so I could either brute force this like 1,000 times, or there has to be some other way to go about this, right? Like,
Yeah.
like I don't want to sit here and spend like 10 hours of my life on this 2-minute section of the video. If there is a quicker way of doing this, right? And then that's when I ask about the code stuff. That's when I like try to use all my brain cells at once to figure out any possible way to go about this. Or even recently with my level design stuff, where originally I wrote a script for the whole thing beforehand, and then I read it, right? That was what I originally did, and people enjoy that, right? But then I thought to myself, what if I kind of did it somewhat live? What if I did it where I went through the level, or like I went through the level a bit, talked about my thoughts, went through the level a bit, talked about my thoughts, and then stitched it all together and upload that. Let's see if people like it. And they like it more. Like they like, maybe because like my thoughts are more recent and it feels more engaging because I just had them or something like that. But yeah, like, so me putting that restriction on myself, which I thought was going to result in a worse product, ended up actually being better. So it really goes to show why you should experiment all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And like, yeah, bringing things to life is all about experimenting and working smarter, not harder. Like that's what I'm hearing when you say, like, I'm not really going to script these. I'm just going to play through the level, spout off my thoughts.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the toy box aesthetic in Mario Party 3. They worked smarter, not harder.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, only you know how hard something was to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I've made things, or I've made graphics that took a very long time to make, and people will kind of just brush it off like it's a given, and there are some things that I made just within minutes, and people are like, oh my gosh, how did he do that? And I'm just sitting here like, oh, it really is incredible. Because like I'm not making fun of them or whatever. They don't know any better, because like they haven't done what I'm doing right now. It's just I have to get myself in the mindset of, is doing this thing for 10 hours, right? Are they going to realize it? Like, are they even going to notice that it's very cool, or is this other thing that I can do within seconds going to look cooler to them? So like, it can be really easy for me to fool myself into thinking that I'm doing more work just by putting more hours in, right?
Yeah.
But it's a little harder for me to put myself in the mindset of, what do the other people, right, and me too, enjoy, right, actually seeing on screen. And just because it takes a quick amount of time doesn't mean it's not worth it. So
yeah, are you talking specifically, just thinking about some of the content you've put out there? Like, I know that when you do streams, you'll often pull assets from the game that you're streaming.
Yes.
Is that one of those things that you're talking about?
Yeah, somewhat. Like those things. Well, I think that's a situation where it does take a bit of time, and people do appreciate it, because like I think
it's so cool.
I do think it's cool. Like I go through it and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I don't try to force it. Like, if there's a game that is in 16:9 and takes up the entire screen, I'm not gonna like try to shrink it down and then put assets around it. It's only when it's a game that doesn't cover the entire screen, right? Because I'm sitting here like, okay, well, I could make this have black bars. I could do that. And there's nothing exactly wrong with that. But there is some info that I want to put around it. There are some like Q&A stuff that I want to put around it. So I'm going to try taking the assets of the game, and then I kind of organize it like that. So
sure. Yeah. So why don't we take a moment to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about bringing stuff to life.
Yeah.
All right. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm gonna refill my water bottle though.
Okay, great. Yeah. I should do the same. Stop! This episode of the Rare Birds podcast is brought to you by my book, Abandon All Hope, a postmodern parable, which is available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and wherever else you can get your books online. Each one of us lives by some sort of code. Whether that code is religious, humanitarian, or scientific in nature, so many of us live believing our answer to the question, what really matters, is both correct and universal. But at what point does clinging to your self-imposed beliefs begin to create hell on earth for you and those your life touches? And at what point will others abandon all hope in you. Abandon All Hope is a dark spiritual comedy exploring these questions about human nature, with proven potential to connect in a meaningful way with Christian and atheist audiences alike. 3 college freshmen, a scrappy feminist, a naive evangelical, and a cocky logistician, arrive in hell, which appears to them as an infernal dorm room, challenged to a diabolical game by a fun-loving demon. The winner will gain instant admission to heaven at the cost of torturing the others. You can compare this book to No Exit by Jean-Paul Sartre, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and Faith Unraveled by Rachel Held Evans. Abandon All Hope is available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com in both paperback and ebook formats. You can pick it up wherever you get your books. And for now, let's get right back into today's episode. Finish! All right, so that was the ad, whatever the ad was on this week's episode. So you make very long videos, ZoomZike, and I get the sense that you are a man of many talents. Just talking about your script writing and your research and your data mining. And do you do all of this yourself?
In terms of, okay. You know what? I'll go by each one. I think that'd be like just from like the beginning to end, because some things I do get help with and some things I don't. Mm-hmm. So in terms of coming up with like the idea of the video, most of the time that is 100% just me like either laying down in my bed, and sometimes I'll just kind of combine concepts with one another. Or it's just whatever I'm passionate about. That's the kind of stuff that just kind of comes from the heart or just from the brain. Because sometimes I'll just think to myself, like, you know what if I were to name like every like collectible in this video game or whatever? Or I'll think to myself, it's kind of weird that this thing happened in that video game, and then I'll just make a video on it. I try not to restrict myself with that kind of stuff, because although I do see myself as primarily making analytical content, I'll try to make a video on whatever I feel about, and it may not be the best thing. Sometimes I'll make a video on like on an anime that I'm passionate about, and sometimes I won't. But that stuff is just me. When it comes to like if I need to do research for something, then I'll ask around if I know that there are people more knowledgeable about the thing than I am, right? Especially if I'm claiming that this is the best way to do something.
Sure.
Because like for example, I've made 2 bestiaries, right? Which are like compendiums for like how you fight enemies in like Paper Mario and its sequel. And I'm not going to sit here for an hour and a half and say what the best way is, as if I know what the 100% best way is myself, even though I played the game a lot. I go into the server, I gather information from them, get their opinions on it, and then I come back and then rewrite my stuff.
Sure.
So anytime there's like I need to actually research something, I'll have someone else give me some info and combine it with what I know, right? So in regards to the script writing with that, every now and then I will use assets that I got permission for from like a Wikipedia source, right? Because they'll tend to put it in a very like clean, concise way, and I'm like, okay, that's beautiful. I'll just I can use that. I'll quote them, and it'll be wonderful, right? So other than that, that's just me writing the script, me doing the voiceover. Sometimes, most of the time actually, I'll like put a blanket over myself to make sure that there's like 0 echo. So like a lot of people, they might have like voice recording studios, and I want to get one myself at some point. But some of my best sounding like videos, like I personally think my best sounding video, like with my vocals, is the one called City Escape is Peak Sonic Game Design. Everything sounds extremely crisp right there, and it's just me with like a heavy blanket over myself, right? And it just looks like the most unprofessional thing, but it works. It's like it doesn't have to look good. If it's functional, then no one would be any the wiser. And that's kind of what we're talking about. I don't have to spend like $500 or whatever to completely set up my room, right? Like if I can just do it this way. Granted, I probably should do that, but that's beside the point. The actual video editing itself, which is kind of like the core of what I do, most of that is me. Like the graphics that are on screen, not counting the actual content in them, because sometimes again people will help me with like the contents of that stuff. But most of the time it is me running my own ship, and that is how I prefer it to be done. I don't like getting help that often, right? Like because like there is a part of me, there is a part of like ego that does want it attributed to me, like, oh, you know, I made this thing and I'm proud of it, you know.
Yeah.
So like if I can make something and, you know, if I can make something and like have it so no one helps me with it, but I'm still being accurate, that's what I prefer. But I'm not going to let like my ego get the best of me and then start spouting out a bunch of stuff I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of the gist of it. I will have though, I will have my girlfriend look over like the script a lot though. So just to get like a third person perspective. Yeah, just to get a third person perspective, because like sometimes I'll write something out and like I think if I'm trying to communicate something to an audience, like if she can't understand it like on the first like run through, I'm like, okay, I have to change it, you know. Because like if you're like writing out a script and like eventually you're gonna get used to it and you know exactly what you mean, but you know they don't know exactly what you mean. So that's why I'll have you know, my girlfriend or, you know, someone close to me like just read it over, and I'll ask them, I won't ask them what do you think, or, you know, is it good? I'll ask them, what am I trying to say here? I'll ask them like to kind of reiterate what they think my point is, right? Because I feel like that kind of gets to the heart of the thing more. Because like asking is it good or not is like kind of a moot point, you know. Because like most of the time people are gonna say, oh, it's good because they like me and whatever. But like you know, they're being nice, or if they think it's bad, it's not exactly precise. But if I ask, what am I trying to say, that really gets to the heart of the matter. So
that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about knowing what questions to ask. Is like trying to get feedback out of people who love you unconditionally or love you with some conditions or whatever. Like people are going to say they like it or it's good, but you have to know what questions to ask if you want to get the feedback that you're looking for to actually make it better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because if you don't ask the right questions, then you just won't get the right thing done. You know, it's one thing for, because like sometimes someone will ask me like, because you know, a couple of my friends like might be making stuff, and or like one of my friends is like writing something for college, and he'll ask me to look over it, you know, like just as friends, we're kind of like looking out for each other. And like I'll try not to just tell him, oh, it's good. I'll try to do the reverse thing for me, where I'll say like, are you trying to say this? And he's like, hold on, I wasn't trying to say that. And I'm like, okay, so maybe we can like change it in this way. So it's definitely a good question to ask.
Yeah, for sure. So my reason for asking, like, is this you, or do you have a team? As like, and I know we were talking about time and effort put into things, but like, how much footage do you have to get for one of these identifying luck videos? For the uninformed listener, the general outline of a ZoomZike identifying luck video is he'll go over the game mechanics and like talk about spaces and items and all that sort of thing. And then he'll go board by board, the specific elements of that board and like specific strategies and specific ways of thinking about this and like different scenarios that pop up within each board. And like, so you multiply that by 6, 7, 8 times, however many boards there are in any given game. And then he goes mini game by mini game and like talks about how do you win this mini game. And I mean, sometimes it's a button masher.
That's sometimes it's just that simple. It's like sometimes it's like it doesn't matter how big a brain you have or how smart you think you are. It's just you hit the button. Yeah.
Right. And so like I'm just thinking about, because I mean I've worked on movie sets, and basically for every minute of finished movie, it's basically an hour on set.
Oh gosh.
Does that align? Because like I feel like when you're capturing specific scenarios that happen in these games,
that's the thing. And like some of these scenarios I can find on YouTube, right? So if I need like for example, if I'm showing a scenario where I need someone to teleport or swap with someone who is currently on a specific space to show this very specific event, right? Someone may or may not have it, or sometimes the event is extremely rare, but it's like very it's very elaborate. So like, I don't know, like maybe Donkey Kong punches Bowser in one of them, and like that has a video on it, right? So I can credit them, and like I don't have to like get that 1 in a million chance myself,
Yeah.
because that would take an astronomical amount of time. And sometimes it's just nowhere to be found. And I'm just stuck here trying to achieve that state in the game.
Yeah.
Like to no avail for like hours. And I'm like, how in the world do I make this? Because like I have to like play through a board to the very end. And then I have to make this situation pretty much. And like there are some codes that I can employ to make things easier on myself. But overall, though, in regards to the actual footage, I have to manage my hard drive very well, because like that thing, it fills up very fast, because I like keeping these things in HD. I like making sure that they're at, whatever source frame rate that the stuff is at. And it packs up, and like sifting through the footage sucks too. Yeah. Because like trying to make sure that like, oh, this is when I did that, this is when I did that, just is a pain sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's no wonder that you only like people asking you, oh, when's Identifying Luck Mario Party 6 coming out?
Oh yeah.
It takes a while.
Yeah, it takes a while. And like and sometimes like after I'm done with an Identifying Luck, I'm proud of it and stuff, but like I get Mario Partied out for like a few months, and I don't even work on it, and I just do other stuff. And then I get into the mood again. And like now I'm in the mood, and I'm working on the 6th installment. Cool. And then like I'm sure once I'm done with that, because it takes like when I was working on a Identifying Luck Mario Party 3, right? I just remember waking up, and I went at it and then went to sleep, and then that was just what I did for like a couple weeks. It was kind of a meme between me and my friends where like, oh, hey, what are you doing? It's like, oh, you're just doing the same thing you were doing the past few other days. And I'll have them up on my other monitor. They're playing a game, and I'm just sitting here editing. It's the same thing I've been. So
are you doing this full time?
Right now I am.
Okay, so, cool.
Right now, because like the streaming helps out a lot, and like the monetization, I didn't want to have to put ads. I wish I could just live in a world where I didn't have to do them and stuff. I'm sure that's how everybody feels.
Right. I mean, like, you're paying rent in Southern California.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like you got to do what you got to do. Like everyone would like to live in a world where, pretty much, unless the ads are like extremely relevant to like what they're doing. Like if I could do an ad, for example, like for something Nintendo related, that would be cool, Yeah. But like the fact of the matter is I can't really choose that. Someone might click on my video and get like a Honda ad or something like that. Right. And like, at least for me, when I make something and I put my heart and soul into it, just for the first thing someone to see when they click on it to be an ad, it hurts me a little bit inside, just a little bit. Cause it's like the kid in me is like, come on, I worked on that. Why is this other person? But it's a little bit of a necessary evil in my eyes. So
yeah. It's So switching gears a little bit, I have this quote from you from one of your videos, and I think that you kind of get at the heart of everything you do. In this one quote, I think it was the video where you ranked the main Mario series games.
Oh,
yeah, your most basic video.
Quote? Is it something around there or?
No. So
that wasn't the second one. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So you said that you look for how much love and passion can go into a game, even if that love and passion is going toward very small details that no one is going to notice unless they're immersed in the game.
Ooh, yeah.
That's your entire channel, dude.
Yeah, it's a good, and that's the thing. That's why, because I feel like a lot of the times when someone talks about a game or when they're looking at a game in general, it's like, it almost feels kind of contradictory, because I am looking at Mario Party in my series in a very lexical manner. I am looking at like through a statistical lens. I am looking through it in a strategy lens, through like psychological, almost like trying to trick players and stuff. And it feels like people might look at me and be like, oh, ZoomZike's a very lexical person. He's a person that like is just trying to win. He's trying to always play optimally or whatever. So like when I play games like Persona or whatever, and some people in my chat are confused because they're like, ZoomZike, this party member does what this other party member does, but better. Why aren't you using him? And I'm just sitting here like, I don't like him, and like that's my reason. And it confuses like people in my audience because like I guess they like thought I was just this kind of person that only wanted to play things optimal, when it's a little bit of a mix. Like sometimes I am like wholly immersed in something, and sometimes I like looking at things and trying to like game them. So it's kind of a push and pull of my personality, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that that's the reason, at least, that I found myself drawn to like watching more of your videos and getting more familiar with your personality, because like I feel like it's just so clear the passion that you have for these games, and just like the way that you want to share with your audience this thing that you are passionate about.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that's what I try to do with my podcast and with my own creative projects. Like it's like, hey, look at this cool shit I found, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people pick up on that, you know, people, because all the time I'll receive comments where people are like, I don't care about Mario Party, but I'm watching this, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll do that. I'll watch a video and it's like, maybe it's on a sport that I just don't know anything about, but like the first few seconds or the person's enthusiasm or passion for it, and I feel like it's almost something that like humans in general are just very attracted to. Like passion is a very attracting quality, where even if it's something that you really just do not care about, like at face value, if the person is passionate about it, you can't really help but get invested into it.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's a very human thing. Enthusiasm feeds off of each other. And yeah, just in conversations with people, this conversation we're having right now, I feel like is fed on our mutual enthusiasm for what we're talking about. And then eventually the enthusiasm just becomes what you're building on.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what advice would you have for somebody who is getting started, like somebody who has decided, I'm going to make a multi-part series about whatever the thing is? Like, what would be your advice that you would give your 2018 self after 3 years of identifying luck and everything else you do? What would be your word of advice to 2018?
I think I would have to ask for a little bit of clarification on that. Sure. Is this like advice in terms of like making it easier, or like getting big, or well, because I feel like my answer would differ depending on like what lens we viewed.
Walk me through how that's different, like between making things easier and reaching wider audience.
Because like in terms of reaching a wider audience, if I did my identifying luck thing, like let's say I made a multi-part series on like Mario platformers and why they're so good or something, I don't think that I would have I don't know if I use the term blown up, but like I don't think I would have like gained popularity in the way I did if I made those as much as Mario Party, because they aren't like even if they were like really well-made videos, they aren't the kinds of things, at least in my opinion, that like really blow up as something super duper unique, because there's a lot of videos out there that are like that. So in terms of like getting big, if I was talking to someone else and like how to like make it or whatever, you know, not saying like I have, but like I have my foot in the door, I'd like to think.
Dude, you have 53,000 subscribers.
Well, yeah, that's good.
I think like, you have a degree of credibility.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But because like with something like Mario Party, for example, though, there's the closest thing that there is this other dude who does like a retrospective on Mario Party, right?
Yeah, King K, right?
Yeah, King K. And like those series, it's kind of funny because he does like, you know, 2-hour long videos on Mario Parties as well. And there was a point where he had like more videos than me, and then I had more than him, and you know, it's kind of like neck and neck, right? And it's like, it's interesting that our series can coexist, because his one's more like opinion based, where mine was more like, you know, gaming the system, right?
Right.
But to get more on track, like at the end of the day, identifying luck is a pretty interesting concept in my eyes, where this thing that you assumed was luck based, right, actually isn't. And there's a lot of secrets that have yet to be unearthed about it, you know, and that attracts an audience, you know. Sure. And like attracting an audience, at least I feel, is either you're like insanely good, or you're really good at the thing that you do, or the thing you do is like something that hasn't really been done before and can like attract people, or you just like have been doing it for an like if you do something for like a million years, you know, eventually, you know, you would hope people would like start coming. But
You would hope.
in terms of making things easier though, I guess I would have some kind of support system, you know, someone that can like look over your scripts, someone that can kind of make sure that you're on the right track. I have this I have a text document, like just it's a very small text document. I don't even look at it, but I wrote it out, just like a small set of rules for me, right, for when making videos, so I don't ever really get off track, right? And I don't perfectly remember them, but it's like, you know, it has to be something I'm passionate about, right? It has to be something that like I'm willing to like put effort into for like a long period of time. This is for like my longer videos and stuff like that. So I basically just don't want to lose my way. I don't want to like make videos about things, you know, just because they're going to get popular. I try to find things that interest me and will be popular at the same time, right? And that's kind of a mix, you know. And sometimes I'll just upload the thing that interests me, and that's fine. But there are things that are equally interesting and would also get an audience. So I'm like, I kind of opt in for that more often than not.
Yeah, it's like it. Yeah, it's so clear that you do follow your passions.
Yeah.
And some of your videos have tons of views, and some of them don't have as many.
And it makes sense. Like, you know, someone subscribes to a channel about people, or not about people, but like about a dude just analyzing this game for like 3 hours. They're not going to watch some like 5-minute clip on like some anime they've never seen before, or like I made a mistake streaming for like 30 days on my main channel and I actually lost a decent amount of subscribers from that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they subscribed to this guy, or they subscribed to me, right? For like videos and stuff, and now they're getting their 20th notification on this, you know, long game, you know, that they haven't played yet or they don't care about. It's like, so it makes sense, you know, and that's why I've kind of learned from that, and I'm gonna instead stream on like a side channel and just diversify, you know, keep them on separate platforms. So
well, that totally makes sense. I mean, as somebody who enjoys your personality, though, I did tune into videos that like I wouldn't have otherwise tuned into. So I was like, oh, this person who makes that video I like is streaming this and talking as he goes. So like, yeah, I can definitely see why you made a separate channel and kind of separate church and state a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much
with that sort of thing. But also, I mean, you make videos about Paper Mario, and that's great too.
Oh yeah.
My entire second play that I ever wrote was a retelling of the 1,000-Year Door without Mario, Peach, Bowser, or the X-Nauts. It was great.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, how'd you go about that?
I mean, that's an entire separate conversation, but basically I made Goombella the protagonist. And sort of followed her, and I mean, like, you know, changed everyone's names, and so it was like Kim is her name against the 3 witches, but then she, you know, befriends the witch.
Okay, I see.
Named Vivian,
I see what you mean.
You know, like that sort of thing.
That's pretty clever. That's pretty clever.
No, it's fun. It's called the 1,000-Year Rose.
1,000-Year Rose. Did anyone get the reference, or were you just kind of alone in that? Okay.
Yeah, when we built the sets for that, well, we didn't really build sets. We had projections of screenshots from the game where I had photoshopped everyone out of them. It's a great time.
I'd be so sad if I did something similar and just no one got it. But so I'm glad you had that.
Yeah, no, it was great. But anyway, enough about me. Enough about the 1,000-Year Rose. Yeah, so I guess now is as good a time as any to start winding down our conversation. So I have one last question for you, and this could go in any direction. This could go talking about your creative career. This could go like ZoomZike, the human being.
Yeah.
What's something giving you hope today?
Something giving me hope today. Oh man, like I'd say it's a lot of things. Like because like there are like big things that give me hope, whether like it be like my relationship, right, and then or like my friendships or stuff like that. I think like little things that give me hope is when I see people who, like, if I see someone, for example, this is kind of like a specific situation, but if I see someone that has done something wrong, right? A lot of the times, people, especially this being the internet, may like take the high road and like, just high road them to death, like, oh, they should have done this instead. They're a bad person. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
And I'll just read tons of those comments. That makes me lose a little bit of hope. But every now and then I'll see this one person who will attempt to empathize with the other person and like try to understand where they came from, try to understand that they were born this way, or that they might have had this kind of childhood, that they like not try to excuse them for their actions, but will try to understand them as a human being. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. When human beings treat another human being like, as human beings instead of just these like objects that just make mistakes and should just like, oh, screw this guy, whatever, and then just leave him to rot or whatever, right? So like instead of like saying, and I know this might be like a little bit all over the place, but I think empathy is the main like core of my answer. Like when I see people empathize with one another and I see someone who might have done something wrong, like receive like empathy, right? That's the kind of thing that gives me hope, because I feel like the more that humans are able to understand one another, like the better future that we're all going to have, right? Because if no one had empathy for each other at all, like if you were to like somehow take the humanity scale and like had a billion traits in humanity and then brought empathy down to zero, all chaos would ensue. But if everybody somehow could like read each other's minds and know exactly like how everyone's backgrounds are and like what everybody felt about everything, I feel like the world would be a very like a bit of a safer place. You can kind of understand each other more.
Yeah,
but
definitely. And that's, I mean, that's great.
Oh yeah. It's
the world could use more of that empathy. For sure. And I mean, it is the dogpiling is, it's so easy to get on your high horse and to say I'm better than this person because I did not do that thing.
And that's the thing. And I can understand why some people might do that, because, at the end of the day, like it does feel good that, like this person, well, it does feel good for some people where they might see someone and be like, oh, I didn't do that bad thing, so I feel better about myself. But like to be able to kind of separate yourself from that and be like, you know what, I'm kind of sad that this person, didn't take this route instead, or we should figure out how to make it so these people don't end up doing these things, like just have more empathy for them, and then we can make the world a better place afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, ZoomZike, for spending some time with me on my tiny podcast. Where can people find your work?
People can find my work on youtube.com. I have a Twitter. I have a Patreon and stuff. I have 2 YouTube channels, right? So I have ZoomZike and I have ZoomZike Live. I originally named ZoomZike Live Zike Zoom, but I wanted people to
confusing.
Yeah, and I wanted people to know for sure that it's a streaming channel. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just name it Live, right? Just ZoomZike Live. There we go. Because on Twitch it's pretty obvious that it's streaming, but on YouTube, not as much. So.
Yeah. Anything else you want to plug today?
Not really. No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm Peter Fenton, and this has been the Rare Birds Podcast.
Moving on!